Shiyen Shu, Enlightened Leadership Show. Um, the Enlightened Leadership Show has an idea to put in the spotlight someone who has qualities of enlightenment, of softness of heart, clearness of mind, and is able to inspire others. Mm, I know Shiyen quite a long time. I think about 1, 2 years from now. I think some similarities which we have, we did both some training at Marshall Goldsmith and also later at Oleg Konovalov. Um, I have appreciated Sheehan as a fantastic, inspiring personality. And maybe we should start with that, with a few of the fantastic recommendations which you received from people. I saw some beautiful recommendations. I will read one. Sheehan is a brilliant and gifted executive coach who really understands how to get the best out of me. I felt very lucky to be working with her. What really impressed me most about Sheehan is just the way how she connects with people. She's welcoming, friendly, and very supportive. Sheehan is more than just an amazing executive coach. She cares about people and is very accessible when you need her. Prior to working with Shein, I had numerous interviews to advance into a senior leadership role. However, I wasn't able to stand out from the competing candidates. Within 3 months of working together, I had multiple interviews lined up with two offers for senior leadership roles in top organizations. With other words, Shein, this is only one of the many laudable recommendations people write after working with you. And it inspired me to have to put questions to you. One of the first question I have for you, because I know you work continuously on your personal growth, because that's more or less, I believe, your motto. Uh, you evolve as a coach and you transfer what you have evolved to your customers. And I have a question. It's a basic question. How do I know that you are a mother today of 3 kids and you have a family life, and on top of that, a fantastic coaching practice? Um, how do you manage all this? What about your resilience? How do you come back to yourself? How uh, do you have some super routines, or what would you advise the listeners to do to stay in shape while working so intensely in professional life and having a family with 3 kids on top?
Thank you, Francis, first of all, for having me here and for the very kind introduction. And, it's an honor and privilege to be with you here and to have these conversations. So thank you so much once again. I'm also, inspired by the work you've been doing with the Enlightened Leadership Academy, and you and I both know that, our world would be such a different place if more of us could help each other. So
Yes.
yeah, so thank you. And for that question that you just asked me, I get that question a lot in terms of balancing or integrating, family life with the professional life. And I can tell you that, I was just thinking back to about 5 years ago, and my life was very, very different. I at that time I was in a full time job. I had gone back to work after my second baby. So my second child was a year at that time, a year or so. And I only had a full time job and I only had 2 kids and I was not managing. I was having a very hard time. And at that time, my mom was also living with us. So we had help. And it was not a good situation at all. And today, when I look at what I'm doing, I have a business that I run full time. I have 3 little ones. My youngest one is 5 months old. My other two are, 6 and 9,
Amazing.
and I chair a nonprofit board. I sit on multiple other sort of councils. I volunteer my time, And the only reason I've been able to do all of this today is because of that inner work, as you mentioned, that constant growth for yourself to evolve, to become a different person.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, the previous version of myself was was a person who played more of that victim role. Um, you blame the circumstances, you blame the conditions, and yet you just accept that there's nothing there you can do. You almost give away your agency, you give away your power. And who I've become today is someone who accepts the situation as it is, but has agency, has power to then intentionalize how I want my life to look, and
Mm-hmm.
not just take things for granted, or give away. Surrendering is different, and maybe we'll go there. But what I'm trying to say here is, it's about accepting your conditions. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't sleep throughout the night, obviously, because I have a little one. So I'm nursing the baby. I'm up constantly. Many times I have a presentation to do the next morning, or, an in-person workshop. And I could either get really upset, I could get, angry, but I have to choose to reframe in that instance and have a different outlook, and then use the energy that I have to actually to utilize it in a more productive way. So, in summary, it's more about, a lot of what I'm doing is just being a conduit of
Mm-hmm.
the energy to flow.
Mm-hmm.
So things coming to me, allowing it to flow through me, and then passing it along to others.
Mm-hmm.
And in a similar fashion, I think of, the birth of the baby is very similar. Like, it's almost like if you don't do anything and you don't block the flow, things are going to just go through you. And my previous version would not have understood that, and we're all at sort of different stages in that journey. But a lot of the ease now I find in my day-to-day life
Mm-hmm.
is just accepting that, and allowing, and not blocking, not
Mm-hmm.
blocking what is coming to you, because nobody can take what is, for you. Yeah.
Yes, yes. You said it beautiful, I think, and that's the main thing, the main secret of releasing this energy. And let's say, instead of by the old concept getting into anger or into some kind of mode, or what you said, to be a victim, you allow it to bounce back in a positive way, and you experience it as feeding yourself. So you can do much more than your logic can. It's not a logic resilience where I'm going to bed at 10 and I'm getting up at 6 or 5 and doing my job, and I have everything. No, it's a beautiful way of resilience, I can say. Really going with this energy which is coming to you and transforming it in something better and beautiful. I
That's
love it, Sheen. It's really nice.
Thank you, Francis. Yeah, I think you
Yes.
used the right word. It's like, how do you transform the energy?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is, because as leaders, people around you have all different kinds of energy, some negative,
Yes.
some positive. And if you're not in the right state, you can be really influenced by the negative energy. But
Mm-hmm.
if you are in the right state, you can transform that energy.
Exactly. Fantastic.
I love that. Yeah, thank you.
I love to hear that. So, mm, you, whatever comes to you, you transform it into more energy and more fruition of your own inner aspirations, your
I
own.
try. I try. I mean, at the end of
Yes.
the day, we're all humans, so we have our moments as well.
Yes.
But as much as I can, I do try to
Oh,
be conscious of that.
beautiful, beautiful. Mm, I was studying your this idea of dream, dare, and lead. Um, Most of us, we are good in dreaming, either night dreaming or daydreaming, and usually our dreams is what we really want in life. Uh, but for many people, the step to dare and to execution of this dream and making it into a reality is not an easy one.
Mhm.
Um, Maybe you can say something about that. How did you realize your dream? How do you advise people to go about putting their dreams into the ability to realize to make this dream into a reality?
Mm, that's a deep question, and such a powerful question. I mean, I think back to even as a child, I grew up in India,
Mm-hmm.
um, in a middle class family. My parents, although we weren't very wealthy, they made sure we went to the best schools, and so I attended a private school, and I would sit in school with these kids who were a lot more wealthier
Mm-hmm.
than us in many ways. And after vacations, they would come back to school and talk about their trips abroad. And we had not like we didn't have that kind of luxury to travel abroad. Like the only trip we had made outside India was to China one time as a family holiday. Other than that, we had not gone on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
So I would always have those dreams about going to America or going, to that foreign land. Um, that sort of that better vision of what's out there. And then it's interesting how we moved to Canada. That was my parents played a big part in that role. But thinking forward about where currently I am and how I sort of how I envision my own dream to make it a reality in many ways. When I think back, what was probably the most powerful thing. As you said, when you have a dream, you can sit in it and you can keep dreaming and it stays a dream. The only thing you need to do is really take action, and it's the fear that stops you.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was about identifying that burning desire. So what is underneath that dream? What is that desire? What do I really want? Why do I want this dream? Really digging deeper down,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
understanding. And once I understood the value in my dream, and it wasn't just for me, there was a deeper purpose, a bigger purpose. That was the
Mm-hmm.
fuel to my fire. So
Mm-hmm.
that then drove me to take the actions that I was potentially afraid of, because now
Mm-hmm.
it was no longer about me. It was about my kids. It was about my family. It was
Mm-hmm.
about the community. It was so there were other people who it was going to impact.
Mm-hmm. I
So,
understand.
yeah. So I think for and I see this a lot now because I mentor a lot of entrepreneurs who are starting their small businesses, or people who are thinking about actioning their dreams, and very few people have the courage to take that step
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because they're so comfortable in what they currently have.
Mm-hmm.
And the risk that they see seems to be far greater than the rewards
Mm-hmm.
that they don't see.
So I loved it because courage and boldness is a thing which is needed today. It is always needed. It's a leadership quality, courage. Um, I love to hear this story. It's just there, huh? Dream and the second phase there, and then you can start leading. Yes, it's a beautiful story. I love it, and it's this step which many people, as you say, don't want to make or can't make, or they need a kick.
That's it. That's it. I mean, yeah. I think people, sometimes we're looking for inspiration, but inspiration doesn't last. It's almost like, bathing. You have to do it every day, and you have to
Hmm.
find something that is inspiring from within you in many ways. And for me, something that really, pushed me was when I think back to my ancestors and sort of their journey and what they took. And, if they didn't dream to flee China during the Civil War, they would be killed. None of us would
Ha
be
ha
here,
ha. Yes, yes.
right? They took that journey, walked over a year, lost some of their loved ones along the way, but
Yeah.
then also gave birth to my dad, who then continued that
Mm.
journey.
Hmm.
And my dad propelled us, sort of brought us here to this other part of the world to have to allow us to have a better future. And
Yes.
that's my sort of my journey forward, is how do I make my next generation, the kids'
Mm,
lives, better than what I had. And I think
mm.
as we keep doing that, you continue to grow.
Beautiful, beautiful. Did your grandparents pass the Himalayas like many did? Was it a physical passing of the high Himalayas? Because
Yeah, I mean, they walked for a year's time,
hmm
and it was just fleeing for their lives, right?
I
So
understand. Yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes.
So they made a couple of stops, and it's interesting, where they even decided to settle down and say, okay, this is going to be home, because
Mm,
they went through Russia and all, a bunch of other places too along the way.
mm.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So, yes, it's in your DNA.
I
Correct.
like to think it.
There's in your DNA. Beautiful. I love it. I really love it. Mm, it comes. I have a question. Meanwhile, maybe I can ask the public. Maybe somebody in the public would like to ask a question. Just put it in LinkedIn in the comments, and we can read it here. And if you would like to ask Shein a question, my next question is about mm, behavioral growth. Um, Many people say I am like that, you know. This is the way I am. I'm brought up like that. I am like that. Don't try to change me. But I don't think that's the right attitude. I think it's much better to grow. I think we're continuously talking about growth. And behavioral growth is not easy because we did something, we have learned something to do it in that way. Mm, you know, for instance, men don't cry. Men always must be bold and strong. But maybe that's not always the right attitude. This is how we are brought up. And how do you manage behavioral change in your customers? How do you trigger them to go to next levels of behavior?
So as you mentioned, if we keep saying that that's just who I am and that's just the way I'm going to be, it's really, you're not going to change, because that's who you are, and identity is our key defining factor in who we are, who we think we are, and then our beliefs and our actions and our behaviors. So when you talk about my clients or my leaders, the only way that behavior will change for them is if they, first of all, have an innate desire to change it. If they don't have that desire, then it's very unlikely that the behavior is going to change just on its own.
Mm-hmm.
So that innate desire, I think, is the most important. And then after that, when we talk about stakeholder centered coaching, which you're aware of as well,
Mm-hmm.
it's about getting together a team of stakeholders to support you on that journey, so that you're not alone. So
Mm-hmm.
in that behavior change, so once you decide on what that behavior is, so for
Mm-hmm.
example, some of the behaviors that my leaders have worked on will be around listening or communication, or around presence. So whatever that particular behavior is, figuring out who the relevant stakeholders are who are going to be affected by that behavior, and then
Mm-hmm.
going to them to seek, as we call, feed forward, to ask them for some suggestions for
Mm-hmm.
what you could do to show them that you are working on this behavior. And then we create that action list, that the action plan to solidify, because it is the daily actions. It's the 1% getting better every day. It's the reps in the gym. It's
Mm-hmm.
that then translate to the behavioral change. So as long as they do that, and then they check in with their stakeholders to see how they're doing every month, or
Mm-hmm.
every so often, whatever that cadence is, it is regular, so that the stakeholders are able to see that they care about their feedback, their advice, and can give them in time feedback. Then that behavior starts getting solidified, almost like a new neural pathway in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And and then you can obviously formalize it through assessment, through the surveys to make sure that there has been a change.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about having your team with you to help you be successful in that particular behavior when we look at
Mm-hmm.
that corporate environment. And you can do the same thing at home, by enlisting, your family members or your loved ones, which is a little bit harder, I think, for a lot of people.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. That's true. When I ask my wife what to be better at, the list is too long and you can't start.
Yeah. We make it a practice at home, like, during some of our mealtime conversations. Now it's my little kids too will say, let's have that conversation, which they mean by we'll talk about, what we can tell each other we can be better at, and then we'll
Yes,
give each other suggestions. Yeah.
yes, nice. Very nice, very nice. uh, Shian, continuing on this, if we are newborn, like your newborn kid, you're so open. You're so open to adapt, to learn. Um, Sometimes gender, age, our education, our traditions, um, they can be an obstacle for our growth because we too much identify with things which are said about gender, which are said about how you should behave, in what age, in what the education also. I should think like that. I can't freely think because I have been learned to think like that. Traditions, some part of traditions are very good, but some part of traditions are rusted because it doesn't work anymore, but still people are keeping to this tradition. How, what would you comment to make our thinking more free without getting into a kind of, no standards or
Mhm.
nothing? How can we liberate ourselves from um, the layers which make us bounded or don't make us think freely?
Mm, mm. That's such an important question, Francis. This last weekend, I was just speaking with my father, who is in India. He lives by himself there. And the conversation was around, um, he said, I've had to learn to sit down with myself and figure out how anger ruined my life and, some of the things that I didn't want happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very insightful conversation. And I asked him, how did you do that for yourself? Because when you think about it, it was the anger that really ruined his relationship with my mother, and then that ended up with their divorce and the separation and a lot of like the
Mm-hmm.
family issues, because he was a hot-tempered person. Like, he would lose his cool very easily.
Mm-hmm.
And one day he realized that this is not serving him, right? Like, he cannot live his entire life till death this
Mm-hmm.
way. So at the basis of all of this, it's the awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awareness comes, I think, from inquiry, and from whether or not you're ready for that in many ways. I
Mm-hmm.
think some people live through this our entire life and will probably never sit in that awareness or even question any of the behaviors or habits or traditions.
Mm-hmm.
And some, due to circumstances, due to events in their life, will question them earlier and then make a change in the
Mm-hmm.
way they want the future to go.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about those the educational beliefs, like, a lot of our educational system is so traditional.
Mm-hmm.
The way we're trained to think, and the
Mm-hmm.
whole, like, I grew up in India, which was a very hierarchical system when it came to
Mm-hmm.
very disciplined. You listen to me, you stay quiet. Higher authority, which has good things but also has negative things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's realizing what has helped you that may not be helping you moving on. And the same thing with traditions. Like there were a lot of traditions that have been followed. Like my grandmother had bound feet. It was the ancient tradition where they broke a young girl's foot, and they would tie it up with cloth to keep the foot a small size because that was a sign of beauty. But it was extremely painful and it limited the girl's mobility. So they were forced to stay at home and
Mm-hmm.
not work. So it's, at the end of the day, I think it's without the awareness and without being obviously without being able to meet other people who think differently and to see what's out there, you're in a prison, like you're in a cage. Like you don't know
Mm-hmm.
what you don't know. The Johari window.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So like like I think at the bottom of it is like what is going to help you become more aware of who you are, and some of it might be through getting feedback, through getting um, asking other people. Some of it may be through inquiry, reflection,
Mm-hmm.
asking yourself some questions,
Mm-hmm.
and some of it may be through maybe speaking with a mentor or a coach and seeing what that provokes in you to really understand, as you said, those layers that have been built up on top of us. Because I mean, even for me, I'm still on that journey. We have multiple layers
Yes. Yes. Yes.
built up, and um, and yeah, like so it's how do you uncover a lot of that, and some of it is also just sitting with yourself. So that's where the yoga and meditation has been a big part of my own life as well. So there's
Mm.
so much wisdom within ourselves that we don't tap into, and how do you sit in that and appreciate what is, what it wants to tell you and what is
Mm.
there for you to lean on.
Yes. Oh, I love that, Shian, and this inner knowledge which most of us don't tap into
Mhm.
because we stay in our education, our tradition, how we are supposed to be and expected to be, and most of us don't dive in this treasure inside us. And I'm very happy to hear that today many people start meditating and
Mm.
exploring their inner university. I call it a innerversity.
It
We
is.
have a university. This is outside, but
Yes.
the innerversity is in our heart and in our mind. There are so many secrets, and it's so nice to talk with you about this.
I love
Mm.
that term, university.
University, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a question here from one of the participants. It's about humbleness. Um, I hear people say that humbleness is a stand in the way for you to express yourself and lead others. How to express in humbleness so that a good conversation can take place? Should I,
Yes.
should I repeat it, maybe?
That's okay. I
Yeah?
think, yeah, it's around. Um, I think a lot of us struggle with it who have this belief that, being humble is not about being able to share what it is you want or share your ideas willingly. And I think it's almost a different mindset.
Mm. Mhm.
I was coaching somebody else who mentioned he would not do certain things because he wanted to be humble, because it contradicted his own definition of humility. And I think
Mhm.
that's important for us to identify. How do we define humility, and why is it that certain behaviors we don't associate it as being humble?
Mhm.
And then I go back to, Marshall Goldsmith, and he always says, if there is something that you're doing in this world that you believe will benefit someone else, it is your responsibility to get up and share it, to tell
Mm.
the world about it,
Mm.
right? Nobody else. God is not going to come down and say, hey, Francis has been doing this amazing work and you should go check him out and you should sign up for these things. So the agency is within us to share what it is that
Mm-hmm.
we have to share,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that the purpose is beyond our own personal purpose. There is a
Mm-hmm.
bigger, a grander vision
Mm-hmm.
to serve others. And I think with that philosophy, you will stay humble because you know where you come from, you know who it is you are, and you're not doing it as a service to yourself, but you're doing it as a service for others. What do you
Mm-hmm.
think, Francis?
Yes, I love this definition of humbleness. Today I was posting something about humbleness, and I looked up the definition in Harvard and Oxford, and it has a double connotation. Indeed, it has a connotation of um, not wanting to express yourself because you want to be humble. But this is not a humility with I. The humility is rather, are you open? Just like we just said, are you open for more knowledge than you at this moment have? Because the problems we see, for instance, we see these tremendous problems. We have the war very close. Next country, 1,000 kilometers from here, heavy bombs are falling and people are dying all day. 2,000 kilometers down, we have a new war starting. Um, we don't know how to solve this immediately. And we only brutality and boldness is not the tool there. You can be humble to ask, leaders should be humble enough to ask, what can we do to solve such old problems? Because usually this kind of wars, they come from very old conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
But what can we do? Um, but this can also be in the family. In the family, sometimes also there's a war, like you described, father and mother going apart because something is not understood. And maybe dialogue helps, maybe deeper reflection helps, or humility helps to make a next step. I love that humility of
Right,
mm, looking inside. Is there another solution beyond my present scope of understanding
right.
and comprehension? Um, I'm not God. I'm not the Almighty Lord or
Mm,
Lordess. Uh, I want to find something. This is difficult to find.
mm.
And maybe we can find it not alone. Maybe we must find it together. Mm,
Yeah, yeah, that's it. We don't have to do it alone. And
no.
how do we enlist the others?
Mm, yes.
Yeah.
Shiyen, I think we will stop here, not because I would like to stop. Maybe we can repeat it in the future. Because I know your little one is waiting for your uh, for your attention. And oh, I have somebody said excellent, excellent, thanks. Some of the viewers.
Yeah, maybe I'll add one thing around the humbleness because I think sometimes
Yes.
humbleness is, again, when we think about humility and humbleness standing in the way, I think we're thinking about ourselves. And when we switch to think about the others, there's a slight switch that will turn off there that will then, that humility won't be in your way anymore. So it's about the others. When we make it about ourselves, then we stand on our way. When we make it about others, then the way appears.
Yes, 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 yes. It makes me think of Moses. You know, he had these people. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're making this sign. I
Right.
see. I see this ocean going apart, and they could flee
Right.
from.
Mhm.
Yes, maybe. Maybe this is where we have to go to create a miracle together.
Mm.
Something like that. Um, Yes, with my good friend William Bergmans, I'm planning the 23rd of January mm, to make a conference where we invite many leaders from the world about bridging the gap between East and West.
Mm, mhm.
Um, to be honest, I would like to ask your presence there as a speaker.
Most definitely. That's an excellent topic. How to bridge the East and West, because I think there's so much wisdom on both sides of
Hmm.
the globe, and the
Hmm.
more we can integrate it,
Hmm.
we all win. Yeah.
Yes, and you, Shiyen, you are from the East and West.
Right.
And
I'm a cocktail of everything.
yes, yes, but this is what we need. I see one of the successes which you have is because you're a cocktail of East and West.
I would agree. I mean, there was a time when I was upset about it because I never fit in to
Yeah,
the traditional realm, and now it's a gift for me in many ways.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I see that. I see that very much,
Thank you.
and I love it. Okay, then we will close for the public, and if you would stay online for just a minute.
Sure.